Orthodox Christians around the world are celebrating Easter Sunday, the most important holiday in their calendar. Orthodox churches follow the Julian calendar, where Easter falls at a different time than in the Western tradition. Vladimir Putin marked Orthodox Easter at midnight mass in Moscow. Meanwhile, the war raged on in Ukraine, with one Russian missile making a direct hit on a church.
Behind all the pomp and ceremony, it's business as usual. The Russian president publicly joined Easter prayers. He's been accused of weaponizing religion in his country's war against Ukraine. As Vladimir Putin prayed in Moscow's vast Christ the Savior Cathedral, this church in the Zaporizhia region of Ukraine lay in ruins. The head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, called for an end to what he called the internal feud.
Sad events, which may even be described as internal feud, are now taking place in our historic Russian land. Today, I'm addressing Russians and Ukrainians, particularly those who became embroiled in this conflict against their will. With the force of our prayer and our good deeds and our good intentions, we must do everything to stop this conflict as soon as possible.
In Ukraine, soldiers returning from the Bakhmut front line joined civilian worshippers. They prayed together and were blessed with holy water. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky had an Easter message of his own.
This is the dawn of independent Ukraine. Today we celebrate the resurrection of the Lord. Its main symbol, victory. The victory of good, of truth, of life. We celebrate Easter with unshakable faith in these victories.
In the country's east, Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin lit a candle for those who have died in the conflict. He later announced the unexpected release of 130 Ukrainian prisoners of war. It's the second large prisoner swap this week. Meanwhile, those in Ukraine still digging through rubble will likely be praying for a rapid end to this long and drawn-out conflict.
Let's talk more about this with DW correspondent Matthias Bullinger in Kyiv. Matthias, so Russian President Vladimir Putin has celebrated Orthodox Easter at a church in Moscow. That must be quite bitter for Ukrainians who are marking the holiday while still under Russian fire.
It's especially bitter because this night a rocket hit a church near the front lines, and the Ukrainian internet is today full of pictures of this church. There was nobody in the church, nobody was hurt there, but other rockets hit the city of Zaporizhia, so there was quite a bloody Easter night again, and that is of course something that marks this day as a bitter day, and pictures of Vladimir Putin celebrating inside the Russian Orthodox Church, having played a role as a supporter of this war, is of course something that people here do not like to see.
Absolutely. Now, these are also the second Easter celebrations in Ukraine since Russia's invasion. Is it possible to celebrate Orthodox Easter there? What does it look like this year?
Well, people are celebrating Orthodox Easter, especially in the regions that are far from the front line. Life is pretty much, almost back to normal, except, of course, I mean, I'm talking about street life. I'm not talking about life in families where many people have lost somebody in this war. But the churches are open, and there have been services today. For the first time, there was an Easter service by the Orthodox Church of Ukraine in the historical Pecherska Lavra, the oldest monastery here in Kyiv. This was the seat of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church under Moscow Patriarchate. So the Orthodox Church of Ukraine has split off from the Moscow Patriarchate. It's now an independent Orthodox Church. It has been recognized by Byzantium, and more churches are, or communities, church communities, are swapping from the old, unfortunately they're both called very similarly, from the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. That's the one that is under the Moscow Patriarchate, under the Patriarch who blesses this war, and are now swapping to the other one. There has been a conflict around this oldest monastery here, and the government who owns the monastery has ended the lease for this Moscow governed church, and so many people attended this service under the new rule there.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that update. That's our correspondent Matthias Bullinger in Kyiv.